What's going on, guys? Hope everybody's out there staying high speed and motivated and accomplishing their goals, whatever they may be. So for today's video, we're going to be getting into the second half of the second episode of the U.S. Army's Ranger School documentary series, The Creed. Now, the reason I say the second half is because we've already watched the first half of this episode, and that half was all about Rap Week. And if you haven't seen that video, I definitely recommend that you stop here and go watch that one first. I'll put a link right here for you. I think it's going to be on the side. Definitely go watch that first, because in that video, I share a lot of insights, some context, and my own opinions on some of the talk and the conversations that have been circling around these documentary episodes in regard to Ranger School that have been released by the Army. A lot of it is very negative. A lot of people out there, a lot of influencers, military influencers out there are claiming that Ranger School has gone soft, that the soldiers that are attending Ranger School are soft, that the standards are not equal across the board. There's a lot of different, what I want to say are false narratives and false accusations revolving around Ranger School in general, especially as this series continues to be rolled out, this documentary series continues to be rolled out. Seems like it's continues to roll in steadily, the negativity that is. And long story short, and obviously I get a lot more into it in that video, long story short, I don't agree with any of that sort of negativity. I think it's the wrong approach. I think there's a lot more positive and good that comes out from this documentary, and I think it's a lot of it's on point. And I'll be honest with you, I've already watched the second half of this episode, which is all about Darby Phase, and it's a very well shot, well documented account of what Darby Phase is. I think they've done a very good job. I'll just give you that right up front. And with all that being said, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole. I want you to do your best to watch this episode along with me with an open mind. Remember that a lot of these, soldiers are going to be younger looking, right? Because a lot of them, I want to say a good probably 60 to 70% are brand new soldiers, brand new officers. They probably are 21 and younger, so they are going to look very young. And with that, we'll watch the episode together, and I think you'll see that these young soldiers that have started their journey on Ranger Schools, they start to look a little older, a little bit more mature, and they start to have a little bit less animation in their faces. A lot of that is just from the experience of Ranger School itself, and I think it's kind of funny because you might have a totally different product from the start of Ranger School to the end of Ranger School. So all these things that we're saying, or some people are saying on the internet about the soldiers and the standards and the weakness and all that stuff, we haven't even seen what these soldiers are actually going to do throughout this series. We don't know if they're going to make it or not. We don't know what they're going to look like or say or any of those things until we're done with the series. And I just want to see, as we go through this, what you think about that and if you notice any differences, even in this one episode. Okay, so I've talked plenty. Let's go ahead and watch the second half of episode 2 of this Ranger School documentary.
When I see any individual that is wearing a Ranger tab, one, I know that person has been tested. They know themselves, so they have the grit, the ability to persevere. They have the technical and tactical competence about leading small teams, as well as they're adaptable. Because in Ranger School, you will have to.
You saw they started with like 215 or something and jumped up to 280. So that's all the recycles from the previous Darby Phase that have now been reinserted into this Darby Phase. So it looked like it was about 70-ish. I didn't quite catch it, but just for your awareness.
To adapt and evolve, because the environment is always going to, be ever changing. And that's what happens in combat. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty in combat, and we try to replicate similar conditions as combat, minus the two-way live fires, but we try to replicate in an environment in Ranger School that forces young leaders to have to think through and adapt to their environment, right? No plan survives first contact. Any leader that comes into my organization, I know that they've been tested and they're ready to go, and they will give you 100% and then some, just like our Ranger Creed says.
As you go through Ranger School, it is a gut check. It's gonna check you out. And what's gonna get you through it is whether you have it or not.
Honestly, I can't agree more with what he just said, and that is that if you see somebody with a Ranger School, this is obviously for like 99% of those with a tab. Some are just turds still, but the majority of those that are tabbed, you can expect a certain caliber of leadership, a certain caliber of grit, and you know that they're just not going to give up, or the chances of them giving up or not being able to handle a tough task is very, very low. Just because the fact that they're wearing their tab, they've already gone through all of this, all these challenges they've had to adapt and overcome, and they've proven themselves in that way. So can't agree more with what he said.
Thousands and thousands of soldiers train all their lives to come here, prepare themselves to come to Ranger School, and only a few hundred leave here every class with the tab. It's not for everyone.
They're going to come out here to Camp Darby. One of the first things they're going to be doing is the Darby Queen, which you see behind me. And that's really to instill that teamwork mentality in them.
Darby Queen is like 20, 25 obstacles. It was a lot. Yeah, and it's just a smoker. You're pretty much exhausted by the end of it. I would say it takes about an hour to get through it, and you're getting smoked in between each event, before and after, and getting yelled at, and a little discombobulated and confused.
Move out, Ranger.
That obstacle course was not as morale boosting, but it's just one of those things you just got to get through.
Let's go, bro. One at a time. Come on, get there.
Never shall I fail my comrades. And I think at the end of the day, one of the important lessons that we want to teach people here at Ranger School is the importance of working as a team.
The Darby Queen is an 1/8 of a mile obstacle course. There's about 24 obstacles that buddy team pairs will move through and they'll execute, ranging from anything from monkey bars to the tough one that we have behind me and anything in between.
Definitely got a little bruised up. I was very sore the next day after it. It was a smoker for sure.
It's really about not letting my Ranger buddy down. My Ranger buddy depends on me, so I need to make sure that I am prepared and that I'm giving all I can in order to protect and help him accomplish the mission.
They have now completed all of the requirements of Rap Week. So this is the first actual block of instructions that they formally received.
So the Darby Queen is definitely difficult. There's not like a lot of failures that come from the Darby Queen at all. You know, if anything, it's like one or two. But it is definitely a difficult obstacle course to do, and you're just getting smoked in between each obstacle. But you run through it with a buddy. I think it's like the first time they really start instilling that teamwork aspect of the school. From then on, it's all about teamwork. You ever heard the phrase, you don't earn your Ranger tab by yourself? It's absolutely true. Everything you do is earned as a team, okay? So I think that's like the first experience of that, is you have to get through that obstacle course together as a team. But you know, the technical side of things, the institutional side of things, I think the worst thing you're facing is minor minuses and major minuses, depending on the obstacles that you do and don't do. There are a few obstacles that are required to do, right? But like I said, I don't think it's anything that gets a lot of people. But if you do get a chance to go practice some obstacle courses, definitely do that, because again, it's a tough one to train up for, and it's not an easy obstacle course. You're definitely going to be smoked by the end.
It's a little bit exciting because not a lot of Rangers have had demolition experience, and they're also kind of running off of that high of knowing that they have made it into the Darby Phase of Ranger School.
They're going to go through a series of classes that are led by the instructors, and then they'll go through a few days of practical exercises, which are basically patrols that are led by the Ranger instructors.
So the demolitions here are used to tie into certain aspects of different parts of the mission. So here in Darby Phase, we use this to simulate them actually destroying enemy equipment after they conduct their ambush, and this charge here is used to destroy that equipment.
So Darby, it was not what I expected. I kind of liked it. It felt like a team sport the entire time.
So you learn demolitions. It's only like a few hours out of like the first or second day while you're at Darby Phase, and you'll have to actually bring demolition charges with you on every mission, and you'll usually drop them and utilize them on every ambush that you do. I want to say it probably is every ambush if I remember correctly. But you always have demolitions, and it is something that you have to make sure you're paying attention to, because you're definitely going to be using them throughout the school.
Security there. Again, that is going to be...
Throughout the classroom portion of Darby, they will receive a series of 20 board classes, as well as a recon, ambush class, and a full TLP class. The 20 boards are a series of battle drills that the students will conduct while out on mission during their 23 and 24 series graded patrols. What makes this portion of the course extremely important is the fact that the students learn the baseline steps so they can build up to conducting PEs, they can understand the steps, get to their PEs, and then ultimately get to being successful in graded positions, as well as taking that forward and building onto that next step in mountains and in Florida.
I think we got hit with such like a heavy amount of information right out of the gate. It was the stress of now being in Ranger School. You were in Darby, like it was the real deal. During the planning, during the op order phase, everything was scrutinized so heavily by the RIs that I do remember just being in a constant state of awareness that like the RIs are always watching you at all times. You have to be doing the right thing. Like the verbiage that you use when you're planning the op order in the planning bays, and the uniform that you were in and how you packed your rucksack, like everything was scrutinized. You have to have your poncho in the sustainment pouch, you have to have your sleeping mat here, and they could ask anybody anything, not just the leadership, and you were still like, am I gonna get a minor minus, or am I getting a major minus for doing this? So very stressful all the time in Darby.
You have a few days of classes, so you're getting TLP classes, you're getting classes on recon and ambush and battle drills. And then you move into cadre assisted patrols, which are good. You can kind of, if you want to volunteer for a leadership position, you can kind of get a free look. You can kind of see what you need to work on, what you're good at. That way you can kind of talk to your squad and figure out who's good at what positions and how to best set your squad up for success moving into graded patrols.
Following that, we'll put them through 6 days of graded FTX. And during that FTX, the students will get 2, maybe 3 graded patrols each. And they've got...
Now, just to give you a little bit of more that they're not really showing there, when you go to Darby, it's just like a campsite, basically. There is like one building there, but you don't stay in barracks or anything like that. What they didn't show is there's a bunch of connexes in a row, and those connexes hold all the extra gear that you're not using for Darby phase, or sometimes you need to go in there and get some other stuff, but it's like your other duffel bags you're just not using for that phase. And you'll sleep by platoons in between the different connexes on like a bunch of rocks, and that's just where you sleep every night when you're not out there doing patrols. But the way it's broken up, and it changes sometimes, you'll go out and do patrols for like 6 days, and sometimes you'll do patrol bases out there and just stay out there. Sometimes you'll come back and get a little chance to refit, but you're always sleeping outside regardless.
Got to pass at least one of those patrols.
Start to finish, they're going to get their Warno at 5:30, 05:30 in the morning. They'll have a good hour to prep. We'll go down there, we'll assess their warning order. After the warning order, there's a lot. They're going to put out their task of subs. So that's everything that they have to do between the warning order and...
Real quick, too, I know I'm stopping it a lot, but this is good information. That you see how much training they were getting when they were getting taught how to do patrols, they were getting taught tactics. If you are somebody who's worried about going to Ranger School because you don't know enough of that stuff, or you think you don't know enough of that stuff, maybe you don't know any of it, right? Maybe you're not in a combat MOS. Don't let that stop you from going, or don't think you're not good enough. They're going to teach you everything you need to know. So as long as you think you have enough confidence in yourself to be able to just pay attention and get it in your head and then execute after you've learned it, that's all you need to do, okay? Because they're only going to teach you one standard, and that's the Ranger standard. So honestly, I like to say that if you've learned other standards, even if you come from the infantry, and it's not straight from the Ranger handbook, that it's actually kind of a bad thing, because then you sort of have to unlearn those things that you thought were correct and make sure that you're hitting the marks that are outlined in the way they're teaching you, and that's in the Ranger handbook, which can be confusing sometimes, okay? So don't ever let that stop you. They're going to teach you everything you need to know.
The operations order, i.e. they have to do coordinations, they got to fire all weapon systems, they have to get resupply from the previous day, and they have to actually build their terrain model and write everything on the board. That's going to take all the way up to probably 12 o'clock when they start doing their actual hour and a half of rehearsals before SP.
Ranger students will walk from Camp Darby to the patrol, or they'll be infilled by truck into an insertion point where they would likely have contact with the enemy. This is where the students are evaluated in that react to contact, squad attack, IDF, all those classes that they received at the beginning of the phase. So they put everything into operation here.
I guarantee you numerous RIs since the beginning and all the way through have told you to treat this shit like it's real, right? Get behind cover and concealment, and I'll let you know when we get ready to move, and then you move out to them 240 and have them open up. But at least figure out what is going on with your weapon system before we just completely write it off. The fact that we're still not pulling that information together is kind of wild, you know? And we smoked that shit today. Not in a good way.
ATL, VTL. How long do you want? We get 30 minutes for change up pinpoint?
Yeah. Team leaders do need to take the fight to the enemy. However, how do you kill enemy personnel? You pulling the trigger? Wrong answer. You know what I'm saying? You're a manager. Glorified ammo bearer for the entire team. Squad leader, glorified ammo bearer.
So he just switched out leadership. That means that whoever was in leadership, even just for that movement, even though it wasn't an ambush or an assault, got graded for that leadership position. Sounded like they didn't do a very good job. Sounded like the RI didn't think that they did their tactics very well. They didn't take it very seriously. But that's okay. Things just started. You usually will have 2 looks for each phase. That's not like a guarantee. When I went, there was definitely Rangers that only had 1 look, and it wasn't a good look, and they had to recycle. But usually you'll get 2 looks.
For a squad. If you as a team leader are pulling the trigger, you're not managing your subordinates. You're not being the most lethal asset to the team that you can be. Again, think about the dumbest private you ever met. And he's just out there in the woods right now, pulling the trigger at whatever he wants to pull the trigger at because nobody's giving him guidance. Nobody has oversight on him.
After a scathing after-action review, the instructor changes out the patrol leadership. Following a brief refit, the students roll out to complete their recon.
Every aspect of the movement is on the leadership, all right? They're controlling all of this.
This is where the Ranger students will conduct a recon or an ambush on the objective.
Tell me these guys aren't already looking older.
It could be midnight before these guys actually get to link up. But after link up, we get 100%. We move back to Darby around midnight to 01, and we get another 100%. And then we start over, and we get ready for the next mission.
I think I slept 13 hours in 7 days. It's so funny how you're so alert during the day, and then we get back, start cleaning weapons, and you're just sitting there for a minute, and then the next thing you know, you're asleep, and somebody's waking you up. It's hilarious watching people be totally alert, and then the next second, they're doing the Darby dance and almost falling over, just because they're so exhausted.
Running on minimal sleep and even less food, the Ranger students gather for a much-needed respite. Chapel. After the service, the chaplain provides the beleaguered soldiers with an unexpected gift: peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and stationery to write their loved ones back home. Most importantly of all, he offers them his time, a friendly ear, and a few words of encouragement. This rare moment of peace is short-lived, and 0300 comes awfully early. Their journey is far from over.
This is the last graded patrol of Darby. This is their 6th patrol.
Yeah, so there's, I want to say, 1 chapel service per phase, and it's optional, right? But nobody misses chapel service, because that is like the only time where you can just sort of relax for a little bit, just kind of take it all in. The chaplain always does a really good job just sort of putting things back into perspective for you, because you're just like in ranger mode for however long. And there's usually some sort of like treat at the end. And in Darby, he said peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They just have you stand in a line, and you take a couple pieces of white bread out of the bag when you get up there, and they have a peanut butter jar, and they just take some and slap it on your bread, and then I guess jelly for this one, right? And then you just move out on your way, and that's just like a gift from God, that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's how bad it is. But yeah, nothing's changed. Looks exactly how I remember it.
So these guys are physically worn out, they're tired, they're hungry, only getting 2 MREs a day. So right now their mental status is definitely degrading a little bit, so their decision-making process is going to be skewed throughout the rest of the patrol.
Almost immediately upon infill, the students take
Okay, so for 2 MREs a day, that's roughly, each MRE contains, and this is if you eat everything, even like the cream and sugar packet, an MRE is anywhere between 1,000 to 1,200 calories a piece. So that's upwards of 2,400 calories per day. And you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound that bad. But if you're out there rucking all day, okay, running around, doing all these things, you're burning like anywhere between 3,500 to 4,000 easy on a day, super easy, right? So that's a deficit of anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 calories a day. So you know how much calories it takes to burn fat? It's 3,000 to 3,500 calories of a deficit will burn fat. 1 pound of fat, excuse me. So you can see in 2 days you could burn a pound of body weight of fat. That's how fast you're deteriorating out there. Okay, so it is very serious. Even two MREs, I know at first glance, if you just have no concept of it, sounds like enough and a lot, but it's absolutely not.
Contact.
Get on line. Hey, bump up to the berm. Right side. Did you mean it? Team leaders, come and sit rep.
What you see going on right now is the leadership changeover.
It's always that debate of like, hey, did I do good? Do you think, I got my go off that? But for me, I felt pretty good about it.
Once we established a new chain of command,
you can see as they're running and trying to move out as fast as they can, they kind of look like garbage. Well, that's just because they are garbage, okay? This is a hot mess, and that's a lot of Ranger School is that. It's just a hot mess. I mean, you're super tired, 2 hours of sleep if you're lucky a night, and that's been happening for weeks now. You don't have enough food. You've got a ruck that's anywhere between 60 to 90 pounds, and you're probably dehydrated. You're just gonna feel like hot garbage. You're gonna feel like you're working harder than what is actually happening, your output, right? So trust me, these guys are working really hard. Even if they look bad and a little sloppy, they're working, they're putting min-max effort.
Then we'll start picking up and we'll establish a security alt into an ORP. There's so much that goes into the ORP, which is prep men, weapons, and equipment. Once mid-weapons equipment's prepped, they'll send out their leader's recon of the objective. Today we're doing an ambush, which is a lot more extensive and it takes a lot longer. A good ambush takes about 3 hours. The reconnaissance will probably take around an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then placement for 2 hours.
Gold, one radio.
Once we conduct the ambush, then we have to get ready to move. Once we get 100%, we'll pick up and we have night movement. This can break or make the squad. They got a saying, it's called as the tab turns. So Ranger School is continuing to change and to develop, but at the end of the day, it is the same, right? They're always gonna put you in scenarios that is gonna test like your ability to actually make decisions on the ground.
Take casualty. Where's my squad leader at?
Aim letter right here, sorry.
15 minutes practice capture.
Aim letter!
Correction, you got 5 minutes.
Casualty, you just passed out. Lack of blood. Stop talking.
Charlie, top. This is Charlie.
Rangers, if you don't figure it out, you're about to get another casualty.
Unlike 23-4, you guys actually initiated on time, right? So enemy came through the kill zone, good violence of action, and then we started taking contact again. We initiated again until we eliminated the threat. Once that happened, BTL did the right thing, left side, right side, reload. We picked it up, we started assaulting through. Good job, Ranger.
Hardest thing is it's got to be either the sleep or the food deprivation.
Everything. Anything I can get my hands on, I'm eating.
People say some are sleepy rangers, some are hungry rangers. I've found that on both.
I think a lot of the times where you're just embracing the suck and you're like, man, I'm really freaking sorry now, but you look to that guy to your right and he's sucking even worse. And it's that shared understanding that really makes it worthwhile.
We were doing a movement to our link up and we moved through what we thought was gonna get our feet a little wet. Turned out to be almost a chest deep swamp. And instead of getting down on ourselves with a great group of dudes in this squad, we were just laughing and having a good time through the whole thing.
Many people have told me, a lot of mentors of mine have said that it's not for you, it's for your soldiers.
You get out of the field Wednesday night after your last graded patrol. You stay up all night. So you come back, you conduct peers.
You've not only got to be good while you're in a leadership position, but you've actually got to be a good ranger buddy and help your fellow teammate whenever they have their patrol. If you're not able to do that and you're not pulling your weight, we do a peer evaluation at the end. Your peers assess your performance. And if you fail that, then...
If you guys not noticed, they're starting to look a little more grungy, a little more serious, and a little older than they did at the beginning of the series, right? They're really starting to get their stuff pushed in, and they're growing from it.
You could potentially either get recycled or dropped from the course.
I understand the importance of peers, and I absolutely hate doing them. I hate doing peers because, like, there's some people that were on the cusp of, like, they probably had potential and could have continued on with training and maybe fixed themselves up that didn't have that opportunity. You know, well, I guess they got the opportunity through recycle, but they didn't get to do it through us again. Waiting in line to hear your go or no go is like probably the worst thing on the planet.
All right, at this time, you're being recommended for recycle due to failing patrols.
We did get decimated though. My squad had the worst pass rate in the battalion. We started with 17 and moved forward with 7, including myself.
Passing Darby feels great. Bottom line, feels incredible.
But not everyone received a go.
I had a sinking feeling in my stomach that we were no-goes. I mean, the first couple hours was kind of devastating, to be honest. But I mean, the more I thought about it, I tried to spin a positive outlook.
Did you see that? There was 100 failures for Darby. So they went from 280 to 180. That's like what, 40% or something like that? Is that right? Yeah, 40%-ish. Quick math, but that is a lot of failures, right? So I don't know what everybody's talking about with standards and that Ranger School's easy and all that stuff.
Because I can't change it. I want to enjoy the dog X with my squad. I don't want to sit and sulk. I'm going to use this time to better myself. I'm going to rest. I'm going to eat 3 meals a day, which was exciting. Also, just not get discouraged the fact because I didn't fail Ranger School. I am still gonna get my tab and I'm gonna stay here until I get my tab. It's not the worst thing that could have happened.
The soldiers' loved ones gather to greet them at the gates of Camp Rogers. They have an 8-hour refit together before the students ship out to them.
Honestly, that's a great mentality to have. She obviously didn't make it in Darby phase, but she's not crying about it. She's saying, well, I'm just gonna have to learn and try again and hopefully make it on the next one. You know, it's pretty good. I actually failed Darby phase when I went, and I was not happy about it, okay? But, you know, I went on this little 8-hour pass. Wife talked some sense back into me, and I went back motivated, and I crushed it the second time. But I've talked about this before in the other video, you know, that Ranger School is all about learning from failure, okay? So that's just part of it. You know, if you recycle a phase, just, you know, suck it up, figure out what you did wrong, and fix it on the next one.
Mountains phase of Ranger School.
His mind says, you can break me all you want, I'm not going to quit. And he's always been like that all his life. But he perseveres, and I think that's what Ranger School is all about.
Darby, the thing I remember most is my birthday. Turned 19. The boys let me choose my MREs for the day. So that was kind of like a highlight.
Darby was pretty rough for me. Just because, like, you know, we didn't have enough sleep sometimes. Like, there was this incident, so they kept us up for 3 days straight, which sucked, you know. Like, just those 3 days and the entire phase of Darby, that's like the only thing I remember just because it sucked so bad, you know.
Mountains is a completely different beast. Mountains was, as they say, it's like you versus the terrain, and that's 100% correct.
That was the kid that from the first episode said, smells like booty, right? And everybody was making fun of that and saying, man, that's very unprofessional. But you can already see in his demeanor that he's changing a little bit. Seems like he's already grown up so much in 2 weeks, right?
Terrain is wicked. You're always going up.
All right, guys, so that was Darby phase of Ranger School, and the next episode we're going to get Mountain phase. I can tell you already, Mountain phase is the worst phase and the best phase of Ranger School, so that should be a pretty good episode. I'm actually really excited to see that. So, like I said, I mean, you can see the evolution as these episodes are continuing on, where these, you know, Ranger School candidates, these Rangers, right, like they're starting to, they're growing already as soldiers and as people. You can already like see it, okay? And it might be easier for me to see just because, like, as being somebody who has experienced it firsthand, you know, there's probably a lot of things that are hard to put into words or even into a video. You just kind of have to go do it yourself. But I can see it. I can see these soldiers already kind of going through a lot of hardships, and they're in that shell shock period, doing a lot of things they've never had done before, and they're somehow getting through it, and they're proud of that. At the same time, it sucks really hard, right? So they're trying to drive on. They're trying to make it happen, and they're trying their best to stay motivated. All in all, guys, I think that was a really good behind the scenes of what Darby Phase is. I think a lot of things are probably still going to be, you're still not going to know the full story unless you go. I mean, it would just take forever if they documented every single thing about that phase or about Ranger School in general. So, but I think they did a really good job rolling it up, right? So you go there, Darby Queen's like the first thing, then you'll take your lessons from the RIs, you'll learn how to do op orders, you'll learn how to do patrolling, you'll learn all those things that you need to know to be successful in Ranger School. And the number one takeaway is that it has to be done to Ranger standard or you will not move on, right? And they're serious about that. You saw that they dropped 100 Ranger students just in Darby Phase. They dropped it from, I think it was like 281 to 181 or something like that. So it was like 100 students out of that class. That's a pretty big drop, okay? That just shows you right there that they aren't bending on the standards. And one of them was one of the females, right? So I don't know where all these lowered standards are coming from. I don't know what any of that talk was before, but I think this was a great portrayal of the reality of Darby Phase, and I think it's only going to get better as we move on to the different phases. Mountain Phase is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that episode. That next episode should be coming out in the next few days, so don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next React video. That's the next video I'll push out. Should be like less than a week or so. Let me know all your comments, your thoughts, your concerns, all those things, how you feel so far watching the Ranger School documentary. You think Army's doing a good job? Do you think Ranger School's gone soft? All those things, drop that in the comments. Of course, all opinions are more than welcome, okay? And I think it does drive good narratives, and hopefully, having these conversations drives us into the place that we're looking to go, right? So the more comments on here, the more information we have on this channel, the better. So besides that, guys, thanks for watching. Remember, stay motivated, stay dedicated, and most importantly, stay gritty, and I will see you on the next one.